You are 8 years old, you are at the kitchen table, the light is the colour of weak tea. You are watching two adults speak to each other, and you can feel what neither of them is saying, the thing under the words, the shape of the room before someone leaves it. You open your mouth to name what you are sensing. Something in their faces tells you to close it again. There is a name for this lesson. There is a kind of person who has always been here. They go by different names in different centuries. The cunning woman, the hermit, the witness, the seer, the exile. The world has tried more than once to be rid of them. The world has never managed it. If you carry one of these patterns, you already know. Today we walk into the territory of the hermit, not the hermit who chose to withdraw, the hermit who was made. The moment in childhood when the world taught you that disappearing was safer than being fully seen. Return to the kitchen. You are still 8. The adults are still talking. You have not yet learned what you are about to learn. You can see it. The tension that lives 3 inches above the conversation. The fact that one of them is lying. The lie is the smaller, kinder thing. The truth would break something neither is ready to break. You can feel which one will leave the room first. You can feel the silence that will follow. You are not analysing. You are perceiving. The way a deer perceives a change in the air. You say something. You do not remember the exact words later, but you remember the shape of what you said. You name the thing under the words, and the adults turn to look at you. There was a pause, a particular kind of pause. The pause of a child who has stepped on something they should not have stepped on. One of them laughed. Not a cruel laugh, a laugh meant to put the moment back in its box. The other one said something about your imagination, or about how children come out with the strangest things, or about how it was time for you to go and play. You went and played, but something in you did not go with you. Something stayed at that kitchen table, and it learned, not consciously, beneath conscious choice, it learned that what you had just seen was true, and that being the one who saw it was not safe. This is the hermit's origin, not the chosen retreat, the made one, the moment the door inside you began to close, not because you wanted solitude, because solitude was the only place your perception was allowed to exist. I have watched this pattern for a long time. The child who learned to disappear is the adult who cannot understand why their own withdrawal feels like both relief and exile, why they ache for company and flinch when company arrives, why the door they close behind them is both shelter and cell. The hermit you became did not begin in a cave, it began in a kitchen, or a classroom, or a car, wherever you first learned that what you perceived was more than the people around you could hold. The hermit is one of the oldest figures in the human story. She does not appear because some people are introverts. She appears because every culture has produced the same kind of person again and again, the one who must withdraw to perceive, the one whose perception is dangerous in public. The desert mothers of 4th century Egypt walked out of cities and into caves because the cities had no room for what they knew. The anchorites of medieval Europe walled themselves into stone cells beside churches, alive but not visible, because the world could not bear their continuous prayer. The cunning women of rural Britain lived at the edge of villages, useful at the threshold but never welcome at the centre. They tended what no one else could see. That word again, tending. The hermit's verb is tending. The hermit goes into solitude not to escape the world, but to tend what the world is too busy to tend. The inner light, the unspoken thing, the pattern that takes years to perceive and cannot be perceived in noise. Jung studied this figure for decades. He named her the wise old woman, the senex, the inward turn that produces individuation. He understood that withdrawal was not regression. Withdrawal was the only condition under which certain kinds of knowing could mature. What the ancients made literal in caves and cells, Jung made psychological. The same architecture, the same necessity. What seems like antisocial behaviour is not antisocial. It is introverted intuition operating at full capacity. Nigh dominant cognition processing more unconscious data than the social field can hold. To be in a room of people with this architecture is to be flooded. The hermit withdraws not because she dislikes people, but because she perceives too many of them at once. You may already feel this, but there is a shadow inside the hermit. And the shadow is the harder part. The hermit who was made by wounding does not always know the difference between sacred withdrawal and old hiding. Sometimes you go into solitude because something true needs tending. Sometimes you go in because the 8-year-old at the kitchen table is still there, still flinching, still certain that being seen means being shut down. Both can feel the same from the inside, both produce the same closed door. The difference is the cost. I want you to sit with that for a moment. Sacred withdrawal restores you. Old hiding hollows you. Sacred withdrawal ends in return. Old hiding ends in further withdrawal, then further, until you have built a small fortress of silence around a self that has forgotten it was ever allowed to be perceived. The work of the hermit, the integration the archetype actually demands, is to learn the difference, to know when you are tending the inner light and when you are simply reenacting the kitchen table, to know when solitude is medicine and when it is the old wound running you. Most personality content tells the hermit to socialize more, to push past the comfort zone, to stop hiding. This is the wrong instruction given to the wrong archetype. The hermit does not need to stop withdrawing. The hermit needs to learn what she is withdrawing from and what she is withdrawing toward. The desert mothers did not heal by leaving the desert. They healed by understanding why the desert was theirs. Return to the kitchen table. The child is still there. The light is still the color of weak tea. The adults are still talking. The child has just said the thing that should not have been said. The laugh has just landed. The door inside has just begun to close. You see it differently now. The child was not wrong. The child was correct. The perception was real. The shape of the room was real. The thing under the words was real. The only lesson learned that day was that being correct about what you saw was not allowed to be spoken aloud. That child has been carrying that lesson for 30 years or 40 or 50. They became the hermit, not because they chose to, because the world taught them that disappearing was the price of perceiving. You do not have to unlearn it overnight. You may not need to unlearn all of it. Some of what you built was wise. Some of what you built kept the inner light alive when nothing else would have. The cave kept the light alive. That matters. What is asked of you now is only this: to know which door you are closing and why, to tend the hermit in you with the patience she has been waiting for, to stop calling your withdrawal a flaw, to start asking it what it is protecting. The child at the kitchen table can come with you now, not as the wound that ran your life, as the small perceptive thing that survived a world that could not hold them. You owe them nothing but your tending. If this has landed somewhere it needed to land, then you may already know what comes next. There are 7 Sigma INFJ archetypes, and each one carries a different gift, a different burden, a different mythic responsibility. The link in the description will take you to a free assessment that reveals yours. It takes about 3 minutes. The answer tends to land harder than people expect. And if you want to keep walking these threads with me into the deeper psychology of the Sigma INFJ, into the archetypes the world has forgotten how to name, subscribe. There are far older and stranger things still to uncover. Until next time. Find your power, know your myth,